A minute or so, we're gathering all on Facebook, YouTube and Zoom for our Volumes in the Year gathering. So all of you on Facebook and YouTube are currently getting notifications that we have gone live, and as such you might just be, let's say, strolling into the room, getting this notification and deciding you're going to join with us. So if you're joining with us on Facebook and YouTube, you're very welcome. We're already assembled on a Zoom call as well, so many of our Volumes in the Year readers are already assembled in the Zoom room, but you're perhaps joining us for the first time on YouTube and Facebook. Or maybe you've been with us before, because this is our fifth monthly gathering, discussing each of the volumes in their turn, receiving from Anne some teaching about the volume and going through some of the messages to see what they may have to say to us in this current time. So welcome to you all, and it's in a virtual sense. You're all just coming into the room at this point and pulling up your seat. So we'll give you that moment to do so. So we have been blessed through these past several months reading the volumes every day. I know I've become quite dependent on receiving that email each morning and seeing which is the next message that we are given as food for thought, food for spiritual growth in that day. And it has struck me very much that those messages are very much linked to Scripture. They echo Scripture, they send us to Scripture. Indeed, two of the saints, one day after the other, St. Joan and St. Francis, I think it was, directed us to go to the Scriptures to find Christ there. So that is a wonderful encouragement that we are being given. So what's our structure for today? We're gathered here. I'm here in the Soul Sanctuary in our headquarters of the Apostolate of the Returning King, and with me here behind the cameras and the scenes are Julie and Emma. And Julie and Emma will be taking care of comments on Facebook and YouTube. They are taking care of some of the streaming needs and all of that. So it takes a team to do this, and we have a wonderful team. So we're delighted to be with you here. At any time on YouTube and Facebook, if you wish, you can come over to our Zoom call, and Emma is putting that link in the chat section of YouTube and Facebook right now. So you can click at any stage and come on over to the Zoom call if you wish. The reason we have the Zoom call is because after the first half of today's streaming, we will be only on Zoom. So when we share Anne's video, the first half, we will then be concluding our streaming and on YouTube and Facebook, and we will be all coming over to Zoom if we wish to come there. So watch out for that link in the bottom of your screens in the chat section. So you're hearing these few remarks from me this afternoon. Of course, it's morning, it's afternoon, it's evening. We're gathering from all time zones, from east to west. And we have reflections from Anne in 2 videos, as we normally do. And we will have time for adoration as well towards the end of our gathering here. We're gathering for 2 hours from this point. So we have now over 1,550 people registered for our Volumes in the Year reading. And maybe if you are joining us on Facebook and YouTube for the first time, you haven't signed up for the email blasts in this Volumes in a Year sequence. If not, Emma is placing a link for that to register for the Volumes in the Year email blast in the chat section at the moment. We're just very eager to give you all these opportunities and to, let's say, feed you with the links so that you have them and you can click on those there. So Julie is watching in the background. You'll see Julie there on your screen if you're on Zoom. On Facebook and YouTube you won't until you come over to Zoom, and she's watching for stray mics left open when they might be better off not left open. We probably don't want to add to that plethora of very funny videos that exist out there of Zoom calls in these days where there are open mics and open cameras that were better not open, and giving the internet lots of funny insights into people's lives. So we'll watch those mics and videos as best we can. We are recording the session today so that anybody who can't attend, we will be sharing that in the days to come, and it'll be edited and packaged and ready to go out there. If you have any questions or comments on Volume 5 or anything to do with today's proceedings, make sure to message in Zoom, and Julie will catch your messages there, or in Facebook and YouTube, and Emma will be monitoring on that side. So we'll take a moment now, folks, to pray. As we begin, we'll ask God to bless our time here together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Jesus, we've assembled in your name. You have brought us together. It is at your invitation that we are here. We give you thanks for all your many blessings and all your gifts. Inspire us now in this time together. Give us every blessing and grace that you could possibly want to give us in this time, for which we are so grateful. We bring to you all our most precious needs and special prayers. Whatever it is troubles us most, perhaps, we bring you in this moment. So know that, everybody, that these prayers of yours are very dear to us, and we, every day when we have Mass here at the Soul Sanctuary, and as many of you join with us online, we offer those prayers to God earnestly for you and for your intentions. So remember that. And if you ever need to submit your intentions, please do make sure to either email the office at contactus@directionforourtimes.org, or go to our website to the prayer intention submission page. Anyway, that is us, guys, for this first part. So we're getting ready to stream our video, and so we're doing it simultaneously here, since we have YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom. So Julie is preparing to share screen on Zoom, and I'm getting ready to share the screen for everybody joining us on YouTube and Facebook, and so we are ready to go.
Welcome. We are here discussing Volume 5. I'm going to start with the May 3rd, 2004 message from Jesus. My children experience many fears with regard to their worldly existence and their physical safety. Children, at this time, I would like to remind you that your body, your physical body, is only the temporary dwelling place of your soul. Your soul is the eternal part of you. You will not need your body for very long in comparison to how long you will exist without it. Concentrate and prepare your soul. If you were preparing to travel to a foreign land, you would prepare in many ways. You would learn some of the language, assuming that upon your arrival, and after having spent time there, you would perfect your grasp of that manner of speech. You would have some arrangements made for the currency used in that land if it were different from what was used in your land. You would familiarize yourself with the habits and culture of the people who lived there so that it would not seem strange to you, and you would know at least something of what to expect. My little souls of this troubled world, this is what I'm asking of you now. When you begin to feel fear, you must think of heaven. Tell yourself that instead of feeling frightened, you will consider what condition your soul must be in to make the transition from earth to heaven. First, you will need some of the language. How do we speak in heaven? We speak of love and joy. We speak of learning, of sacrifices made on earth, of the divine interconnection between the different and varied aspects of the universes. Look up to the heavens and admire my stars. Did you know that each has a purpose in its position and lifespan? Would you like to understand why that is the case? I won't tell you now. You will learn later. You will look at a stream in heaven, and you will learn thousands of things about that stream and what is in that stream. You will learn of its origin, its destination, and everything that occurs in between. Have you ever loved and admired a river, a lake, an ocean? Would you like to experience it in a more complete way? Children, this is not even the very tip of heaven. And I'm not finished. I'm going to tell you about heaven more than I have in the past because I want you to understand that you are coming to a vast area of love and joy and wonder. There's no fear here. Offer me your fear. Cultivate your virtues. Talk of holy souls who have gone before you, including the saints whose stories you have heard or studied. In this way, you will not only be prepared for the transition, you will eagerly await the transition. You will pray, Lord, I am ready. Take me whenever it is my time. You will not cling to this life as a drowning man clings to a sinking boat. You will strike out in confidence for heaven in your soul, and I will come and take you the rest of the way. You need not worry that you are not perfect. You need only be heading for heaven. I will finish whatever is necessary so that you are comfortable here. No fear, little souls of the Father. Jesus will see to everything. Only hope and trust is necessary now. I love you and watch each detail of your time on earth carefully. I will come for you. I will not allow you to linger for any longer than is your allotted time, because that would not be fair to you. Rest your fears and spend time thinking of heaven. There is a very good reason why none of heaven's inhabitants would choose to return to their earthly life. Well, that's very reassuring. One of the first things that strikes me is that God is with us. There's a way to do this. He is with us very closely, watching for all the details. My experiences of heaven really created in me an understanding of the sacredness of water. And when the Lord here talks about a river, an ocean, a lake, a stream, it kind of would fill you with delight because these bodies of water are different, and yet they're kind of mechanisms through which water flows to us all. You know, and traditionally, if water couldn't be accessed in a region, it wasn't settled. And we've come a long way in making sure that water is protected, that water can be accessed over distances. And I think of St. Damien, Malachi. One of the first things he identified was that water wasn't easily accessible. And so he, got piping donated and things like that to bring water to the people who were sick so they didn't have to make a tedious journey up to transport it. And then I think of the early missionaries digging wells. Water is a big thing. I think of holy water. And many of you who are like physics will cross that bridge to the idea of the priest blessing holy water. And what's happening there with that blessing? Really like a frequency is being programmed into the water. And it holds it. It keeps it. Holy water doesn't lose its power. It's programmed to bless. Holy water should feature in all of our homes and days. We should have access to holy water. We should have it with us. And we should have a relationship with it. Identifying its power. It's a kind of mechanism to alter our being and what's around us. That doesn't go out of style. It's not a superstition, although maybe people viewed it superstitiously. It does have a function in protecting us from negative influences. So I would be all about the holy water. Now, the Lord talks about learning the language and the mannerisms and how do we go on in heaven. Any of you who have traveled to a foreign country will know that there's a culture shock. And the culture shock is, it can be well, it's something that has to be traversed. We have to get over it. We have to acclimate, drop down into the new culture, check out how they're going on, and then row in, because it won't do. You won't flourish if you don't adapt. And so Christ is looking for us to adapt to heaven's ways now. And this is what the volumes are about. He talks very much, that if we do this and we go on this way, we'll say, Lord, I'm ready. Take me whenever it is my time. And traditionally, our ancestors would have thought about death every day. And that was considered a healthy, not a morbid, it was a healthy thing. If you've ever seen people behaving very badly, I remember one time when I did, and I thought the only explanation is that they think they're going to live forever. Because when you go to Mass every day and you think about Christ and eternity and your limited time on earth, you look at behaviors that are unkind, bullying, or cruel by people who have a little bit of power and they think it makes them godlike, and you think, how on earth are they going to have to look back on this? How painful will that be? What will fill their minds when they have to experience how they spoke to others and how others felt being treated like that? I mean, that's pretty thought-provoking. And when you're being mistreated, or when you're observing other people behaving badly in that way, you can drop into that. How does heaven view this? How does Jesus feel about this? Because there are no secrets. There's not everything that is covered will be uncovered, as Scripture tells us. So nobody's going to be able to hide behind anything. And I feel like we live in like the eternal present, where that secrecy is a tool of the enemy. Then there's not to be confused with discretion. Discretion is maintaining a private position on something where somebody's entitled to privacy. But those negative behaviors, everyone's going to account for them. And that's another story. Well, the point of this is that Christ is with us. He does not expect perfection from us, but he does ask that we be heading toward heaven. When I looked at this, I thought, well, this is contemplative prayer. You need only be heading for heaven. I will finish whatever is necessary so that you are comfortable here. That's our contemplative prayer structure. That's the intention of contemplative prayer, so that we can learn heaven's ways in advance. If you are doing that, you're not overly attached to what's out here. You'll use it for God's greater good. Rejoice in it if it serves, and be very detached if it's removed from you. The proper way to relate to physical gifts or goods is to be grateful and to make sure that you use them in such a way that they increase your ability to serve, and to be physically strong and healthy and all those things, and joyful. If there's something you're interested in, and a boat, and you want to buy a boat, I wouldn't be obsessed with it. I would just buy the boat. I would enjoy it. We are here for a short time. I don't need a boat. I'm not saying that. I'm using it as an example. But I see sometimes people of means feeling guilty about their means, and they don't need to. I mean, if it's leading them closer to heaven, then it's okay. If it's distracting them and they're feeling the seeds of greed, they want more and more and more, or it affects their relationships, well, then it's not okay. Now, what am I talking about, my friends, that's critical here? Discernment. Ongoing, daily discernment, so that you can catch something in its infancy in terms of a negative pattern, and you can move to correct it. And that is contemplative prayer. You're paying close attention to how your soul and your being is being affected by the choices that you're making. And not all of the choices that you're making are black and white. Some require a little reflection. A negative choice for damaging entertainment, that doesn't require discernment. You just have to stop. It's not complex. If you need God's help to stop, He is there for you. He will help you. I'm talking about those subtle things that come in. Patterns of behavior, patterns of discourse with somebody. Maybe you're in a relationship with somebody and that person has a certain way of communicating. Reflection will show you whether that's lifting you or bringing you down in your communication patterns. Does my communication reflect heaven? And that is what God is asking here. So you can see why this apostolate is so important. We are going deeper. We are raising standards. We are integrating our religion, our faith, and the apostolate's teachings to make us more buoyant and more consistent with heaven and heavenly personages. I mean, we want to fit in the next life without any effort. The transition should just be closing your eyes to one reality, open your eyes in heaven. So you're not dying. People are around a body after the person is gone and we're expressing grief or whatever. That person doesn't feel that way. And that is really good to remember. Okay, good. Let's go on to the next one. So now we're going to May 4th, 2004, and this is Jesus. Brothers and sisters in the world, please allow me to fill your heart with heavenly gifts. Please allow me to fill your heart with heavenly gifts. There is no reason for you to live apart from my kingdom. If you wish it, you can live your life on earth joined to us in heaven. That's so happy. That's such a happy thought. You must practice living in faith. It is true, but like anything else, faith becomes a habit when you practice it. So much so that soon you don't even know you're exerting yourself. That is what I wish for you now. And I'm going to assist you by rewarding your tiniest acts of faith with supernatural gifts of faith. In this way, you will only need a small bit to begin your union with heaven. What benefits can be gained by union with heaven? You will no longer have as many gaps in your peace. You will view all of your life as transient and valuable. Whether you suffer pain or experience joy, it will all be the same to you as long as you are united to me and to heaven. My friends, that's so sweet. If you see what he's saying there, your experience will be rather irrelevant to you because of your unity with heaven. A difficult day will be a day in unity with heaven. A day full of joy will be a day in unity with heaven. That's very big. Christ is describing here a stability, a way of resonating where there's not swings. Let's call it unnecessary swings. You will have no great preference, dearest soul, because you will detach to that degree. Can you imagine? It is possible if you trust me and begin this practice. Souls in heaven look down upon their earthly brothers and sisters and sigh for them because they understand what it is like to be in exile without the divine vision and the divine knowledge. They remember that to live without certainty was a difficult thing, made more difficult when you lived in dark and difficult times. Now, my friends, there we go. How many here said, if I just knew God existed, well, we live a decision to believe. We can make it much easier for you. Believe. Just believe. It's true. God is real. everything I was taught as a child about my Catholic faith stood up to my later experiences in various ways of depth. It's always going deeper and deeper. And when you go deeper into our Catholic faith, you understand the wisdom, the richness, and the beauty of it. A surface glance, that's what you do at Walmart, It's not what you do with something as sacred as a body of work begun by Jesus Christ. That deserves an extra look, an extra reflection. I found over the time in my life I didn't always agree with Catholic teachings or what I thought they were, when I was young. And I thought, well, I respect it. I respect that there's something probably in me that has to move, not in the teachings. But it took me time to learn the subtleties that explain to me the truth about the Catholic teachings. In my life, so far, I have always found that the flaw in understanding was with me, my understanding, that I needed to go deeper to grasp the full extent of it. I do think, too, that having an expectation on people that they will have the fullness of understanding of our Catholic teachings with very surface catechesis and instruction is unkind to them, unfair to them, and rather absurdly optimistic. I think we have to change up how we're offering catechesis, and I think we need to do it in a more attuned way for this time. So that's the goal, that's the direction that we're heading in. Now, where are we? We live in dark and difficult times. Yes, we do. There have been many such times because mankind is drawn to sin through selfishness. These dark times, such as the one you are living in, create the most beautiful opportunities for holiness and sainthood. You look around and all seems hopeless. How challenging it is then to continue to hope and to allow my joy an avenue through which to flow into the darkness of your world. I'm going to read that again. How challenging it is then to continue to hope and to allow God's joy an avenue through which to flow into the darkness of your world. That, all by itself, is an opportunity for the holiest of acts, the most heroic deed of selflessness. Well, that, is a definition of hope, really. And here's how you'll know when something is a distortion. When you read something or you're in a conversation and you're watching the news, and at the end of it, you're like, well, what is the point? What is the point of my work if it's all going up in flames, or if it's all going up in communism, or if it's all going up in oppression? Well, the point is that in times where, look, here's how it works. The enemy always says, roar, this big, we're hearing a lot about the enemy's plans. We're hearing a lot about what the enemy has planned, and it's always inflated. And somebody recently phoned and said, well, are you watching the news? No, I'm never watching the news. But if I am watching the news, I tend to hear about what the enemy hopes will happen and about his plans. And what I said to this person was, okay, well, that's a stark report that you've given me. I believe what you're saying is true to the degree that some of these things are occurring. And I would also say to you that that is a representation of what the enemy plans and hopes. Now, let's talk about what God plans and hopes. How does God choose to respond to that big, scary, inflated plan of the enemy? And what will God do? God typically works quietly at the bottom and then sticks a pin in that big, inflated balloon of the enemy's plan, and it just collapses. Historically, even a historian would say that's what happens. It all appears lost, and then somehow, some way, the goodness of God present in mankind asserts itself. And a few things go right that no one could have predicted. And the enemy's evil plan lays in tatters at his feet. What is our business? We are the ones working quietly at the base to ensure that those few things that go right, we will take our part in them if need be. So what's the biggest part of ensuring that we can be an asset to God in that way? The hard work is done in the head. Trust, hope. Stay back from the enemy's news and, don't be one of those who rather worships the scary stuff. Some of the most difficult and painful times can be some of the most beautiful, Christ has said it. For example, okay, let's take a tornado. I grew up with tornadoes, and we had seen some serious things, like whole neighborhoods destroyed when we were children. So we respected the force of nature and the risk involved with the tornado. So as they got better at predicting them, the sirens when the siren came, you knew, you went, you moved. And then you were stuck in the basement for as long as it took, and then the power went out and the winds picked up. And children could be terrified. But our mother would have our father would have the flashlights. We would all have a flashlight. And then our mother would tell us stories. We loved those times in the basement, in the dark, with no electricity and the winds howling, sirens going, because our parents made it so cozy and so safe. Now, what am I saying? From the outside, people can view a certain period of your life or my life or our lives or our apostolate's shared experience and say, oh, I feel so sorry for them. It's so bad. It must be so tough. And conversely, giving God's grace, his response to us, his leadership to us, and our acceptance of that, those darker periods can be some of the happiest and most fun we've ever experienced. And if people were to feel sorry for us, we'd say, oh, please don't feel sorry for us. We've never been better. Does that make sense? I hope you can see that our perception of an event and our way of responding to it will dictate our experience of it. And much more, Our Lady is hoping, like the mother in the basement telling stories, that you and I will facilitate her in providing this comfort and consolation to the people around us during any difficult periods, any difficult times, any high winds, any power outages, lights going down. We should be some of the happiest people on the planet during those times. Does that make sense? Great. Okay. Jesus goes on, if you are my friend, you have probably suffered. Do not see this as a bad thing. View this as having treasures that await you in heaven, because truly this is the case. Your suffering, experienced in union with me, moves the kingdom toward God the Father. I love that. The kingdom moving towards our Creator. Wow. That's good for God. That's good for us. Your suffering experienced in union with me purifies your soul as it detaches from the earth, aligning it with the next world. Your suffering, experienced in union with me, has saved many souls, despite the fact that you cannot see this yet. There's so much you cannot see. And if I were to show you everything, the merit from your suffering would be diminished profoundly. You do not want that, because just as this suffering is accomplishing all of these things for others, it is increasing your reward in heaven. You perhaps cannot picture your reward. It is a difficult thing for a child in exile to imagine what his family will be preparing for him upon his arrival home. You must believe that this child will not be disappointed. The heavenly existence is so far beyond the earthly existence in terms of joy and security that you cannot understand it. But I will shed a small bit of light on it for you. So that's what the Lord is doing here. Now, if you think about a time when you arrived home and there was joy and preparation, imagine that's what it is, that happiness. Reunions are such happy things. People are so happy to see each other, and they're so exultant in gaining information about the shared experience. What was amazing for you, or what's been happening with you this time since we've been apart? And that exchange of information there, wow. I mean, that's amazing. There's real happiness in that, real energy transferring. You know, that's just a little bit of heaven, and yet there will be such laughter in it. I think it will be amazing for us. Okay. May 5th, 2004, Jesus. My dear earthly souls must fix their gaze on me, much as a sailor will use the North Star to navigate his direction. If your gaze is fixed on me, you will always be sailing toward heaven. There will be small diversions in your course, but generally you will be moving nearer. I speak now with firmness because I am certain there is no other way for you. If you take your eyes from me for even the shortest period, you will be swept away from your course. Such are the winds of the world, especially right now, my friends. You might say I am warning you of danger. Just as I seek to preserve you and confirm your destination and your journey to it, the enemy seeks to pull you off from this course so that you will not achieve your goal of heaven. Children, for your own salvation, you must not divert anymore. I do not force souls to choose heaven. That would be coercion, not salvation. You must choose me yourself. If you choose me, follow me. That is all. Very simple. My friends, that's profound, actually. What the Lord is looking for right now is a steady march. It must be tough on some of the younger people because, you know, during those 20s, there can be a curiosity about what the world offers and, you know, a desire to find out why it's not for us. And that has to be overcome. I think how do you do that? Well, I would say to you, when you're looking at what people, you go away to college and people are very different from you perhaps, and it's a given. It's a mixed crew. And your parents generally aren't really protecting an environment for you anymore. You have to look with eyes that see domino effects. So you have to look at the consequences for people of decisions that are objectively wrong choices. There can be a tendency in the 20s and in college to, I want to be really fair and I want to be honest. So I'll say that there can be a pleasing surface in some people, and yet that is acquired to get what they want. Now, we're all concerned with self. All of us. That's how we stay alive. And it has other effects too. I mean, we want peers. We desire to have a peer group, friends, someone to go places with and be my age with confidence with. Okay, fair enough. But it doesn't take long, and you know this too, it doesn't take long for you to see the effects of certain behavior patterns, bad fruits, bad outcomes, bad consequences. And when you view them, those negative outcomes, bad consequences, you have to say to yourself, I'm not going any further down that path. That's what Christ is saying here. He's saying, this is a time to correct quickly. Don't give a pattern of behavior 10 years. Don't say I'll quit drinking when I'm 30. I'll quit smoking when I'm 26. No, that's not the time. The time for behavior patterns that are healthy and will make you happy, that time is now. And I say a special word to the young people because I was young, and I recognize that when you're young, you're thinking, we feel like we have all the time in the world. And what I would say is that thinking will waste your time. You will give time up that you will wish you hadn't. Okay, the Lord, I will tell you most solemnly that most people are choosing the side of darkness. They will deny this, speaking of secular humanism and a person's right to choose. I assure you that a human being does not have the right to choose against God. That is not one of the choices you've been allowed. So when a person chooses against God, he chooses to follow the enemy. Again, this is simple. The father of lies draws people, but only those who say yes to darkness. There are no hidden back doors, my friends. People have talked before about being like, oh, the enemy is snatching up souls. He's not snatching me. My feet are on the ground. My eyes are in heaven. He can't snatch me. And he can't snatch you either. Don't be afraid, because fear is what the enemy is trying to use to distract you. God has us. It's about your choices. It's about deciding. It's about giving yourself too much latitude in behavior patterns that are sinful. So to continue with the message, the Lord says, choose me, then follow me. You would not choose me and then follow a path that leads away from me. Many are doing just that because they do not like the earthly sacrifices that come with following my course. Little ones, you will laugh at the nothings of this earth when you die in your body and you're born into eternity. If you have sacrificed your eternity or your crown in heaven for the nothings of this world, your regret will be profound. This is not for you. This is not for you. You are for heaven. I want you to learn all about me, your Redeemer, and God, my Father, and all of our saints and true servants. I want you to learn about my church on earth. I want you to have the answers when someone asks you why you follow this carpenter's son. You must tell them Jesus is love. In heaven, there is only love. I want to go to heaven and spend eternity surrounded by joy and love. Will they laugh at you? They may. They laughed at me, so you will be in the greatest of company. Is there another companion you would prefer to Jesus Christ? You are not alone during these times. I have many followers, and they are all destined to work together. My love will flow through each one of my followers into each other. You will all be God bearers in a special way, so that you are able to sustain each other during this time of trial. Fear nothing, only serve in confidence and trust. You are on the side that will bring you to heaven. So there we have it again. The Lord showing us, telling us that I have many followers. You're all destined to serve together. Interesting, in this apostolate, Jesus insisted on prayer groups. And we are all asked to be in a prayer group. Certainly those who can are. And even during the pandemic restriction periods where we were not free by our governments to assemble, we went to virtual. The Lord gave us a way. Father Dara put Mass online for us. Heaven will always provide for us. And the Lord is talking about, you will be God bearers in a special way and sustain each other in these groups. And with us together, all of you, we here, we are giving to each other this love from Christ directly from heaven, this confidence and trust. I mean, really, there is no bad news to offer despite any news. I do want to say something about news. The 24/7 news channels are possibly the ones to avoid. I recently saw on a trip a local news station doing a 30-minute news broadcast. Well, now that was the way. I mean, it was just information. Here's the information. They withheld their opinions and they talked about things that impacted local people. This highway is blocked for 3 more hours. We expect it to be clear at this time. This person has rescued someone from a river. We're all proud of this person and we're celebrating that. Oh, and something happened in Washington and blank and blank and blank. And, I mean, that's all you need. That is all we need. If I were giving advice, I would say watch a local news program and let that be enough. It was a very different feeling at the end of it than what you feel after, say, an hour of a 24/7 news program, because it's in their best interest to inflate the news, to amplify everything, to create drama where there is no drama or shouldn't be drama.
Guys, we are back here on YouTube and Facebook and Zoom. Yeah, just coming on here now. You're welcome back. We were sharing on both. Okay, I'm messing with the technology here now, guys. 1 second. Here we go. Got to unmute. Now I'm unmuted on Zoom as well as Facebook and YouTube. That was a little bit of an effort there for a moment, guys. The joys of technology. So you're very welcome back on both YouTube and Facebook and on Zoom. We are coming to the end of our YouTube and Facebook streaming at this juncture. And so just to remind you, if you're joining with us on Facebook and YouTube, at this point you may wish to click on the Zoom link at the bottom in the chat section. Emma has put it in there a couple of times. And also to remind you, if you're joining us new on YouTube and Facebook, to perhaps register as an Apostle of the Returning King. Now, Emma is also putting that link in the chat section, and it'll be in the chat section on the Zoom call as well. So if you wish to register with us, please do. Many of you already are. If you're joining in this call, you've already registered. So in this next part of our YouTube and Facebook, or in Zoom rather, we're going to have some small group work. So just giving you still another couple of minutes to come over to Zoom from YouTube and Facebook. We're going to be stopping the stream here in a moment, and then we'll continue with our Zoom call. So it's been great to be joining with you here live from the Soul Sanctuary for this discussion on Volume 5 on YouTube and Facebook. We wish you every blessing, and we will again be joining in August together to discuss Volume 6. And just watch out for our email blasts and notifications about that gathering online. But for now, on YouTube and Facebook, God bless you. Have a great rest of the day and see you soon.